everybody. Welcome to the Hallmarkies podcast. And we are really excited today. We're talking with another writer. We love talking with the writers on this podcast. Today, we're talking with Shannon Latimer, and she is the screenwriter for Ghosts of Christmas Past on Lifetime, as well as other films. And that was a hidden gem that I really enjoyed last year. And we covered it, or will be covering it, depending on when this airs, as this month's on Friendship pick. So that was really fun to talk with Elisa about it. I thought it would be fun to talk to Shannon about how she wrote this film. And Shannon, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you for thinking of me.
Yeah. So first, we like to, as we always do with new talent, we like to ask, what inspired you to get into writing? How did you get your start?
Well, I mean, I would say writing is the one thing that I've pretty much done my whole life in one form or another. And, I studied writing in undergrad, and I did more like fiction and playwriting then. And then I was in Chicago and doing some playwriting, not as seriously as I should have been, to be honest. And then I came out here for film school and did the production program and did some like directing and editing, and kind of explored all the different sort of roles of filmmaking. And then kind of at the end of it all, I was like, I think writing is the skill I want to keep moving forward with. And then so I finished with a screenplay, and then after that, I did something that I don't think, who knows if I'd go back, if I'd change the path, but like I felt like I took some advice that I think is maybe 15 years out of date, which is like, don't be an assistant, just take whatever job you can leave and just write as much as you can on the side. And I did that, and I was writing screenplays, like both like TV and features, and entering for like fellowships and contests, and getting partway there, but never quite having a breakthrough. And then I got introduced through a friend to this company, and then I started going with them, and it was actually right before the pandemic, and great timing to get going with that, because before I was working in restaurants. So so that's how I got. And then I finally am getting paid to write, and it's great.
That's great. So have you always been a rom-com fan?
I have. I mean, my tastes kind of go all over the board. Like I mean, my favorite film last year was Power of the Dog, but I've always loved rom-coms, and I grew up, I think with the best of them, with the rom-coms of the 80s and the 90s. And like it's easy to, like, from the outside, to dismiss them and be like, oh, silly rom-coms, and then you start to really look at them and all the mechanics and all the heart, like with how they work. And I've always really loved them as well. So
they are definitely not easy to pull off. People think, oh, anybody could do that. No.
Yeah. And especially the, the sort of like, if you think of Hallmark / Lifetime as a genre, it'd be easy to look back and be like, oh, those movies, but they're actually, like kind of weaving through the specifics, and, I don't want to call them limitations, but the things that they're looking for, and trying to bring rom-com elements to it. It's a tricky dance. And to be honest, I still feel like I'm learning.
Well, and it's also hard because I feel like so much of it is intangibles, things like chemistry, which you can have it all right on paper and it just not click.
Absolutely.
For some reason.
Yes.
The audience. And that's got to be super frustrating.
Yeah. I mean, that's definitely not the case with this one, but I do know what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think is the appeal to these Christmas movies? There's so many. And they had one every day last year on Lifetime.
Do you mean you mean Lifetime movies?
Yeah, like Lifetime, Hallmark. I mean, there's Netflix is joining in. Everybody's practically making a movie of the week, a TV movie, Christmas movie.
I mean, I think there's the idea of like, like the warmth of them, and how like, how like, like how just like it's nice, like around the holidays, to just like see like things with positive outcomes. I think in general they're thought of as being easy watches as well. Like I think a lot of them theoretically, like if you're, one of you is on the couch, one of you is kind of doing dishes, and you're like turning around and being like, oh, this is such a cute scene. But they're not like, it's not like, oh, I have to sit down and like just really work my brain when I watch this. But I think that sometimes they take close watches. But yeah, I just think they're like a guarantee, like feel good, Christmas, just like family, positive I think sometimes that's what you want. That's what you're looking for. And I think these are great for that.
Yeah, especially at Christmas, you want something, it's cold outside, life is stressful. Christmas often is stressful. And
Yeah,
so
absolutely. Like you
to
don't want to watch Going Back to Power of the Dog. You don't want to like watch that like on December 23rd and be like, yeah, so great.
well, that's the hard part about my life is because I'm also a film critic and podcaster.
Uh-huh.
And so that in December is when we submit our association uh, ballots for,
Uh-huh.
I'm a member of the Hollywood Critics Association, the Online Film Critics of America Association, and the Utah Film Critics Association. So all those groups are voting on their favorites for their awards in December. So that means I have to have all of the Oscar contenders watched by pretty much the beginning of December, because I don't want to have an illegitimate ballot, that I haven't watched the movies. But it makes it kind of weird for me because I'm flip-flopping between this Oscar movie and these Christmas movies.
I was gonna say either that's a challenge or it's perfect because you can be like, oh, that was some real work. I'm feeling like crying a little bit. And then you're like, wait, what's this? 12 days of what?
Right. Yeah, it can be a nice break. Also can be feel a little schizophrenic at times.
Yeah, I like probably like take some adjusting in the beginning.
Yeah. But yeah, it's an interesting, I have an interesting career, I'll say that.
Sounds fun. Yeah.
Yeah, it is pretty fun. Beats digging ditches, as they say, right?
Yeah.
Well, I really enjoyed Ghosts of Christmas Past. Like I said, I felt like it was a little bit of a hidden gem because I think it aired on like a Tuesday.
It
On
did.
their
I was like,
movie.
oh.
Yeah, I know. There was, see, I don't really think the movie Everyday thing worked. It was, they took a swing, they tried it. I don't think it worked. But
Mhm.
both of the ones that I thought worked the best were both more kind of hidden gems. Like I liked Saying Yes to Christmas, and then I liked this. Those were
That
the
was my
two.
friends, by the way, Saying Yes to
Oh,
Christmas.
really? Yeah, that
Yeah,
was
my friend that
clever.
helped me with this. Yeah, I really enjoyed that one. Sorry, keep
Yeah.
going.
No, you should tell them. I really had a fun time with it, and ended up interviewing Erica Prevost. It was the lead in it. She was great.
Nice.
And then there were the two Lifetime that made my top 10
Gosh,
of
thank you. Thank you.
non-Hallmark Christmas. But yeah. So how did you end up getting involved in this project?
This specific project, I feel like in the long run, I was still somewhat early. Like I had kind of finished my first full project with them. And then I had done like an additional writing rewrite for one of the other Lifetime movies. And I did it in a really short time. And it was just like kind of some small things like weren't working. And I kind of came in and, like did a pass at that. And I think they were really happy with that. And
Which
then
is the one that you did full out that you wrote?
Oh, the one that I did full out was called A Whirlwind Wedding. And
Okay.
It's not a Christmas one. That was on Up TV. And that was the first one I did with them. And it was like actually a long process to kind of figure out what I was doing. But I was happy with it. And then they were happy with it. And they put me on this rewrite for a Match Made in Mistletoe, which was also, I think it was the other Tuesday. I think they were both like Tuesdays. And then they were happy with my work with that. And so it's funny, I was like working on something with the main executive that I work with, and they pulled me back over to, because they had the concept in place, but there were like certain issues with it. And so I took it, and it was like another short period of time. And so I came in and sort of took a stab at this one. And, there was just enough scaffolding that like, I feel like the hardest part for me was kind of like, as far as the concept was done, that it was like kind of fun to be like a problem solver. And so that's how I got involved. Is it was a little bit along in the process. And then I came in and I felt like I kind of cheated because some of the, like I said, the concept, I was like, oh, like the concept of the ghosting and the gypsy and even the snow globe being the ball, that was actually all there. And there were other things that got changed up, but like that was there, and I was able to kind of like climb that scaffolding and run
cool.
with it. Yeah.
Well, and that's probably different when you have that kind of foundation, but in general, when you write, would you say you're a pantser or plotter?
I am a pantser for sure.
Mm.
And I mean, sometimes it's not the best for my time management, but I
Mhm.
definitely kind of like, yeah, I mean, I just like, I feel like I find the best stuff when I just like, go, like kind of start. I mean, I do have, to be fair, like I do have sort of like mileposts and goalposts. Like by the time I start on draft with my company, there's always been some sort of outline, but so many things change anyway that I really just kind of start writing. Because the best things come when you like have somebody say something in a scene and you're like, oh wait, that's a good theme that I can like go with. And like I feel like the best stuff for me for my writing comes out of the small details and the interactions. And so that tends to like, I think, provide the best stuff down the road in a draft. So if I was saying, what I was saying before was that if I were better with my time, I'd try to do more like Shannon, exactly page 14, like what's happening here? You just watched this one. Like you could like literally look at other of these films like a guide or a puzzle, like, or like a, you know, like a paint by numbers thing, but I just kind of never managed to do that.
Well,
So
you have to write for the ad breaks and the pacing that entails, right?
yeah, and I do, and like it's so funny because I feel like the one thing that like I like one thing that I kind of wish I had kind of done a little bit differently in Ghosts was that at the end I felt like I had like a rom-com structure in my mind. I had sort of like kind of rolled over into that. And so like in the end, when you're like cutting back and forth between the two locations, in my mind it was like bam, 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 bam. And you can kind of see where it kind of like the pacing seems strange to put those in like longer scenes or something. If that makes sense. I
Yeah.
don't know. Yeah.
No,
So
but I
I
saw
think it,
some homages to classic rom-coms, particularly when she visits Kevin, I think it was the sick when he's sick.
oh, oh yeah, yeah, the sick guy.
That
Yeah.
that felt very You've Got Mail-y to me.
Yeah. Yeah. I did think about that. I was like, oh, you know, just
Yeah.
bring a nice thing of soup, you know.
Daisies are the friendliest flower.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
always think that.
exactly.
Yeah.
So,
We'd like to take a second from this episode of the podcast to celebrate our sponsor of this episode, and that is the Hallmarkies Patreon.
Do you love Hallmarkies podcast?
Do you want an inside scoop into what happens on the podcast?
Do you want early access to episodes and loads of cool perks?
Now is the time to become a patron of Hallmarkies Podcast.
By becoming a patron, you get to access our patron Facebook group.
You can request episodes or even be a guest on the podcast.
And most importantly, any patron can join our monthly movie watch-alongs with stars like Paul Campbell, Natalie Hall, and more.
It's as low as $2 a month to join in and become a special part of the Hallmarkies family.
Please consider, and we will love you forever.
Go to patreon.com/Hallmarkies.
That's patreon.com/Hallmarkies.
Daisies are the friendliest flower.
see stuff like that. I really love putting details like that in these films.
Yeah.
They're not always there. Yeah.
You said the idea of the ghosting was already kind of set up for you.
It
But
was.
what do you think about that? Do you think the ghosting is a problem?
Oh, you mean as far as human behavior and like in the story, or
Yeah. Kind of
Yeah.
tackling that as a problem in the script.
well, what's funny is that like when I got this concept, there were also like kind of notes from above and like conflicting things about like, wait, is ghosting bad? How do we want to make her ghost her, but like, does she really have, like, it was kind of funny. I felt like there was literally a note that was like, you know, we like this concept, but does she have to not show up for these guys? And I'm like, well, that's like, that's what ghosting is. And so I really tried hard to find a way to have her do it, but like have it be understandable and sympathetic. As far as that goes, it's so funny because I wasn't on online dating then, and now I'm currently on online dating. I'm like, oh, interesting, Ellie, I get you. It's I do think ghosting's not great. I don't ghost. I always send a polite text. I feel like I do what she was doing in the middle montage, you know. But sometimes it's necessary. Like with Harold, it's necessary. You want to ghost Harold.
Which one was Harold again?
Harold was the one that like yells at her, reverse ghosts her, and
Oh
like,
yeah.
yells at her. So yeah,
That was funny though.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah.
How did you come up with the idea for her to be a video game designer?
So that was actually one of the things. They had changed it. Like I sort of had the conversation and saw like different like things they had tried. That was sort of in the original concept. And then when I got it, they had changed that to having them be in publishing. Um, and then as I got all the notes and like I had the original concept, I had some like all the notes. I asked them like, what do we like? What do we want to hang on to? And one of the things that, you know, the executive I normally work with was like, I don't know. I feel like we haven't really seen video, like we haven't really seen this as a workplace before. Like at this point, you've seen like there's so many. I barely know this, but like there's so many workplaces that are overdone
Yeah.
in this genre, and they were shipping back to
Chefs,
one of them.
bakers,
Yeah, or even like, you know,
party
even as like in the
planners.
literary world, publishers, you know, and
Yeah, advertising.
yeah, and so it's kind of a fun. It was like actually a fun challenge for me
I
that, you know, I
agree.
talked to my normal executives. He's like, what if we could actually make this work? And I felt like I, you know, like I'm kind of proud of what I came up with because I made it
Yeah.
Christmassy. I made it like, you know, it's always a challenge. Like, are we going to have them sitting in front of computers like at a, you know, in a Lifetime Christmas movie? It's, you know, like,
Yeah,
so
it was very clever because it involved creativity, artwork. It gave a great little thing that she could do with her for her mother. It gave you had some pretty funny lines about Pac-Man is a metaphor for life. I just think it was a smart choice.
yeah. Yeah, I like it, it ended up working out really well and honestly providing a lot of those things. Like I think I
Mhm.
came up with that you know, the like she'll be Elfie and like she'll give this to her mom. Like that was like late in the, and that was late in the, what do you call it? The pansy,
The
the
pantsing, I
the
guess.
pansy process. That was like something that came out where I'm like, oh, like, cause like I was struggling with that C story with the mom, like, and that was kind of it. Like I was like, it's so fun when the things come together like that. But yeah, it was like, it was hard to be like, how can I make this visually fun and Christmassy, you know, when they're, you know, in computers. So
Well, that's one thing I wondered about. What were you trying to say in the movie about work? Because I think that was a theme throughout the film because she's critical of Charlie for refusing the promotions, but he's happy where he's at, partly because he
Mhm,
gets to work with her and he's,
mhm.
in love with her, but also because he doesn't really value he values work in the sense of he wants to do a good job and he wants it to be, he doesn't want to be lazy, but he also wants
Sorry.
his life is also really important and doesn't want his life to be work like she does. And especially when she thinks he's submitted the game and
Mhm,
she kind of goes off on him about it.
mhm.
And I thought that whole dynamic was interesting.
Yeah, it's like it's funny because you know, like I'm gonna admit right now, like out loud that like, you know, like because you had sent your questions that you were sending over, and I saw that one and I was like, and I watched it recently and I was like, oh, I don't know if I like properly tied that up, you know, because it's like it seems like it should be an issue that she's dealing with. Like she like works too much. She can't like, you know, she doesn't know when to let go. And I think that like it kind of worked, and I feel like it was the director that kind of helped it. She had like like as soon as he leaves, she like sends it. Like she's like, there's kind of like a little bit of like, oh, you're right. I can't work and perfect this forever. But then it's funny because then after that, she gets it like in a like moral argument with Kevin about like, no, it's okay that I work today on Christmas Eve. So
Well, it is tricky because there'll always be somebody there who is willing to work 24/7 and is going to take your spot if you let it go. And,
yeah,
particularly in a demanding industry like she's in. But on the other hand, where do you draw the line? Because you have to have a life. So where do you draw
yeah.
that line between working hard and overworking? I don't know. It's tough.
Yeah, it's tough. And like I said, I'm like, oh, I'm not sure I answered that in this movie because I feel like they're both like wrong. Like she's, you know, she needs to like know when to clock out, right? And then
Mhm.
meanwhile, he like has like, I think she refers to it as a career heartbreak in the end that he needs to get over. And like he's sort of hiding and being like, oh, I'm cool. I just like clock in and clock out. But like I think we're supposed to understand that like there's more to him work wise. I don't know. Like I realized watching it the last time that these two are like geeking out about their like work passion together in a weird way. And I don't know, I like that, but
Yeah.
but like
Because
I said, I'm not sure I solved the theme there.
well, maybe there might not be a solution. That might be the problem, is that if this is an ever ongoing challenge in life, is that balance. Because I tell you, I mean, I have zero work-life balance, none. My whole life is this podcast. And I mean, I'm almost always either doing something that's, and then my career as a critic, one or the other. I'm watching something that I'm going to be reviewing. I'm coming up with questions. I'm for interviews. I'm doing prep work to try to get an interview, contacting, things with the help of Anne, who does our reaching out for most of the interviews. I mean, there's never ending. There's graphics to be made. There's promotions to be done. There's patron events to do. All of that takes time, and designing merch, the list goes on. And so I love what I do. And so I'm very fortunate, and I think Annie loves what she does as well. But I think most anybody who says they have work-life balance is probably kidding themselves a little bit. It's like an ever ongoing struggle.
Yeah. And I feel like the thing, Ellie loves what she does, so that's what makes it like tricky. She's not like in a career that I feel like a lot of these are like, I'm in a career I have to get out of, or like I need to do this other thing that I'm more passionate about. But it's like, no, she's in there, and I feel like the fight is actually almost convincing her mom that she's not, that she hasn't sold out or something, which I think probably isn't always in these things.
Well, and that's what made the pandemic difficult for someone like me, is that it took already kind of somewhat stilted life of work, and it like validated that and moved it even to a higher degree.
Yeah,
all of a sudden I didn't have church, all of a sudden I didn't have family, all of a sudden it's just like work.
Yeah, I struggle with that, because it's like, if you're writing at home, it's like you don't have a very like productive day. You're like, that's okay, I can just work till 11, and then you're training yourself that you can just work till 11.
Yeah,
that's probably not
great. But I thought that was good, and I thought particularly with him and him refusing the promotions, him having a more relaxed style compared to her, it was a good dynamic. I liked it.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I remember thinking that I was like, I don't know if this is a good Lifetime Hallmark guy. I remember like turning in and like kind of expecting notes that he needed to be more like driven or like virile in some way, and then they were happy with it. So I was like, okay.
Yeah, cool. Or like small town, I call him the man with many jobs.
Yeah,
like he's not a workaholic, but he's just literally everywhere in the town doing everything.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the first one I did. Like, we solved a problem by being like, well, she needs a carpenter, so like, let's make him a chef and a carpenter. And it like, surprisingly, it kind of works,
Yeah, that's classic.
Yeah.
Have you ever wanted the first Christmas in Angel Falls movie with Paul Green? He's the classic man with many jobs. Literally every scene in that movie, he has a different job that he's doing for the town.
Oh my gosh, I haven't seen that one. It's funny because I feel like I'm kind of catching up on the genre, like, and I'm like kind of appreciating it, strangely like appreciating it more and more. You think that I would be like, don't make me look at Christmas in July anymore, please.
Right.
But, like, but it's like you kind of appreciate how they're like solving the problems and making.
Well, if you need any recommendations, I'm here for you. I can give.
Oh my gosh, I may email you. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I liked the relationship between Ellie and her mom. I think working in this whole thing of the Secret Santas and her trying to figure out what to get her mom, and her having these feelings of her mom doesn't appreciate what she's doing for her job, doesn't value what she's doing for her job, trying to find this present for her. It was definitely a good dynamic. And my dad is impossible to buy presents for. He is the worst. And so he's wonderful in many other ways, but not present receiving.
Yeah. Oh no. Yeah.
Tough. Yeah. So I related to that. It's challenging. It can be stressful.
Yeah. That's kind of funny. I felt like, even not page space wise, I felt like that storyline came forward a little bit more than I thought. And then And then I think that the director whom I like collaborated really well with in rewrites, like I think she kind of achieved something there in that like last scene where I'm like, oh, that's more emotional than I even saw that being, like in a good way, you know.
It was good. I liked it. And then also her brother and sister-in-law
Yeah.
were hilarious. I love them.
Yeah. I enjoyed them. They were like good like side characters because they had their own like banter and yeah. And that was one of the odd things that was in the original concept that I had, that like those were sort of like her friend characters. And I was like, yeah, which makes sense because her romance interest is at work. So she wouldn't have like another person at work, like being like, hey,
Yeah, they were a good cheering section for her. And I especially loved the ending when she's there and then they convince her to leave and then he shows up and they're like, oh, she's gone.
Yeah, to me, that felt more like, that was one part that I wrote and I was like, I think this may be more like rom-commy.
Oh yeah.
Like, and I was like I kind of like crossed my fingers and hoped that it made it through, and then people liked it. So
yeah, that was good. It was really good. And I really enjoyed Annie and Dan in their roles here. They were
great.
I think they had good chemistry. I bought them together, working together. I thought they were great.
Yeah, I was really, I was, when I watched it, I was like, oh yeah, this is good. They have good chemistry. Yeah. And I was like, really, not that it's my job to go around being happy or unhappy with them, but I was happy with them.
Yeah. Well, and what did you think of her sweaters?
I love them. Well, what's funny is there were like, it's so funny because I was talking to somebody about this recently, that like there was a lot of mushrooms and he's like, what's that about? And I was like, well, like it actually used to be like up until I think the day before filming, we're like, instead of the Pac-Man stuff, it was like Super Mario Brothers. And so like, and so I think that must have been inspired by that. And then we had to switch it to Atari because Nintendo apparently with like clearances is a little touchy. So
yeah.
So
yeah, I know that Disney barely got them in Wreck-It Ralph. Barely.
Yeah.
So probably not Lifetime.
So it's like, so
although Lifetime is part of Disney, so
yeah. Well, I don't know how it works with our, like, because like the company that I work for works with Lifetime some of the time, and I don't know if it's like technically an acquisition, but I know that as I'm going through drafts, Lifetime has a look. That's what I know.
yeah. I liked how you used Christmas Carol throughout the film. You have clips. She's talking about Scrooge. She's talking about Christmas Carol. I thought that worked really well. You could tell that was inspiration throughout the story.
Yeah, I feel like I kind of cheated and just used it where it was fun. Like I saw, this is another question that I saw and I was like, I think it's more of a motif than a theme, because it's like, I was like, wait, is she Scrooge? Like, who's Scrooge? Is this about like correcting your life? And it's like, it's about correcting your life as much as, any of these films are. So it was kind of funny. I just liked any chance I could like be like, ooh, Ghost of Christmas Future is the gypsy. And,
Yeah, it was cute. Yeah. When we speaking of the gypsy, that was fun. I know you said that was there before, but I enjoy, I mean, like, I want to go to this office party. It sounds like a fun time.
Well, I was like, why? To me, I was like, especially in these films, they push for everything to be so Christmassy. Like, obviously, I mean, that's an obvious thing to say, but it's like, the fact that they're like, that made it through in the concept. But I was like, well, we'll make her like a little bit more of a Miss Santa,
It's cute.
But yeah, that was in there. Like, I'm like, the scene was mine, but the concept was there with the snow globe, which I thought was great. I wasn't gonna like. Cute. It wasn't my job to be like, I'm going to change everything. I was like, this is good. Why would I get rid of this? This is great. Well,
and I really liked the whole production design. I loved the Christmas tree that was on the wall in her office.
Oh yeah.
That was really, really fun.
Yeah. I was really, like I said, I really liked this director, and I feel like she made some like, they must have gotten some go ahead to be a little bit more modern or bold or like to lean into the video game design, because there were things that were like kind of a sleek Christmas tree or like, a branch with lights on it, and not as like wholesome Montana, like,
Yeah. I mean, I always joke that you can tell somebody's evil or bad if they have white or silver Christmas trees.
Oh,
That's a sign of like you're dead in the eyes if you have a white Christmas tree.
that's funny. I didn't think about that, but yeah, here it's like just like a bunch of modern video game designers. Like it's like, so.
What do you think the movie thinks about spending the holidays alone? It seemed they defended it a little bit, but then also she at one point says, "I just can't bear the idea of you being alone."
Yeah, well, I think that's her, like, because she like has her family like right close to town. Like I imagine that they're like in a nearby suburb, like and I think that's her philosophy. I think it's funny because I actually I've had a cluster of Christmas, like not to sound sad, I've had a couple clusters of Christmas I've spent alone, and I kind of like learned how to embrace it. And to be honest, like Charlie's arguments were kind of my arguments, and it's like, why all the stress? Like then you get to stay home and maybe you treat yourself to the restaurant that you love, and
well, I related,
I'm not against it.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, no, I mean, I related to too, because before COVID, my parents would usually go and stay with one of my siblings that have kids to be the grandkids on Christmas Day. And so I would usually celebrate Christmas with them a week earlier, 2 weeks earlier, whatever. And so actual Christmas Day, I would be alone, but I usually just go to the movies or go to Chinese food. As he says he'd eat pizza. I'm like, nobody eats pizza. Go to Chinese food. But,
I just picture you, like, I was honestly thinking of locations at the time. I was like, oh, we may need to see him. Like, we don't want to add another restaurant. Like, he'll eat pizza at home.
Yeah. Last year, it was kind of funny because I decided that I was going to do a Disney trip, that I was going to leave Christmas Day night. And because we never do anything on Christmas Day, especially aside from the morning. So I thought, I'll just spend the morning. But of course, the year that I decide to leave Christmas Day night, 4 of my siblings are in town and we're having this big family thing. And I'm like, what? We never do anything.
Yeah. You're like, I had this life hack. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, ruining my plan, making me feel bad. They did make me feel bad, but I still felt bad. But anyway, it was funny. But I did get pretty used to spending Christmas alone. And you would think that your dog had died by the way they treat that in these kind of movies.
Oh,
the worst thing.
Sorry, that the dog could die. Wait, what's that?
No, you would just think it was like the saddest thing that you could imagine, spending Christmas alone by most of these movies.
Yeah, I think that's how I had to go via a note. I think they were like, I even had like, I think I had to cut back the times that she says like Christmas alone. Like, I think there was at least another argument about that. And they're like, well, it's okay that it's this way, but we need to emphasize it less. So I think my point of view is one, and then the script ended up in the middle somewhere.
Yeah. Well, was it fun coming up with the different ghosted men?
That was so much fun. Because that's just like the best like possible like fun and games is like she's going to go through different guys. They're going to be different types. They're going to have something really wrong with them.
Yeah.
Which is kind of weird. I struggled with like, does she have a problem, and is she solving it if she actually like was kind of correct to like not let these people like into her heart? You know what I mean? Like, I feel like that's one thing that I watched, and I'm like, I'm not like story-wise, it's a little dicey. Because like I looked at reviews on Letterboxd, which is never the thing to do. Because like you watch people that like don't like Hallmark movies review Hallmark movies.
Right. I know, roll my eyes.
But it's so funny because they're like, just let her go. Like, she was right to ghost these people. And I was a little bit like, yeah, you're not wrong. So I forget I think I derailed. Yeah. What was the
No, it's just coming up with the various characters that you were having her ghost, like Kevin was fun, I thought.
Yeah, I loved it. And of course Kevin had to be somewhat, for later he had to be somewhat like normal. But no, I just thought of antics, like kind of like what we call like fun and games. It's like what's going to provide the wackiest situations. And so like I loved having the guy that's like, oh, we're meant to be. I loved you and I let you go, and is having kind of his own fantasy life. And then and like the Pretzel Diaries was funny because that literally was come up with like 2 days before production, because they were like, we have to put this at the Christmas market. And so it's just like all these things like provide like so much fun for like so much opportunity for like antics and So
You have fun
yeah,
coming up with the usernames like Blinky for Life.
I did. Originally I think it was Luigi for Life at first because we were
Oh,
going with Mario and Luigi. And then but then then it was just like I sort of transferred it all to Atari. Which almost made for too much ghost theme, but like hopefully it worked out okay.
yeah, no, I always liked it. It was cute.
Yeah,
And
yeah. The fish were always named after the Pac-Man ghost. So
well, and like I said, it was really cute at the end with him coming to the house and, oh, she's not here. Go, you're gonna miss her. And then they show up at the tree, and I it was just very swoon worthy when he says, I had to get that kiss in before. I mean, he goes in for the kiss, stops her. It's a total, call it a shut up and kiss me moment on the
yeah,
podcast.
yeah,
He goes for it and he's like, I had to get that kiss in before midnight.
yeah. It was like that's like technical, like because they're talking about the technicality where it's like, wait, what if this is a curse?
Yeah,
Let's just like
you gotta
cover,
make
let's
sure.
just cover our bases. Like he's
Right.
like, I want to keep explaining, but like, but we got to do this because that was her logic too. Is like that's why she was there, was to cover the last like possibility that her love life could be ruined by this potential curse. So no, I was really proud of that
Yeah.
last scene.
It was really good. Yeah, I enjoyed it very much.
Thank you.
So yeah, I liked the movie a lot. I thought it was clever and fresh, and liked the leads. It was romantic.
Thank you.
I think you'll enjoy when you get to hear our on friendship discussion, where we talk all about we talk about ghosting and friendship, modern friendship, and everything. So yeah, you'll definitely have to check that out. But we'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies merch store.
Are you looking for that perfect gift for the postable, hardy, or Hallmarky in your life?
What about getting that t-shirt or hoodie that will help you stand out at your next holiday party?
Now is the time to check out the Hallmarkies merch store.
Full of festive designs by artists like Jessica Miller, Carrie from Hallmark Comics, and more.
You can even have more than just shirts, but totes, cell phone cases, notebooks, mugs, and more.
And it isn't just Hallmark. We have designs for Anna Green Gables, Man from Snowy River, The Nanny, and more.
Every purchase at the merch store goes to help support the podcast and allows us to make the great content you know and love.
There are frequent sales, so go to tpublic.com/stores/Hallmarkies or see the link in the description.
That's tpublic.com/stores/Hallmarkies.
Yeah.
We have some fun, silly questions to like to end our interviews off with, and you're going to get today our holiday version since it's a Christmas movie that we talked about. So, first question: what is your favorite holiday drink?
Oh my gosh.
Hot
That's
cocoa,
so
cider.
tough because they're so good. I mean, like honestly, the eggnog that's made from scratch and probably might kill you. Like I think that might be my favorite. But I do love a good mulled wine. Damn it. Sorry, am I allowed to say damn it on this podcast? Anyway.
You're fine.
I think just like the boozy eggnog with all the raw eggs. It's just like I made it from scratch once and it was pretty great. So I love that. Yeah.
A little bit of nutmeg on top.
Yeah. And then what you got to do, you got to get the actual like nutmeg pods and then like use your microplane. That's how just that last little touch. You got to do it right.
Agreed. What is your favorite holiday cookie or treat?
Oh, I have a good one for that. Or do I? Well, I'm gonna do a two-parter. I'm gonna say for cookie, so I'm from New Mexico and we have these biscuit Cheetos. I don't know if you've ever had them. They're a cookie that actually technically could have lard in them, but they have an anise flavor. They're really good. They're really special to me and they taste like Christmas, which is why I'm voting for them. And the other treat is like New Mexico pozole, which is like, for some reason, it's a big Christmas thing. And so I always try to make a big pot of that around the holidays. So yeah.
That sounds yummy. All right. What is your favorite Christmas song or carol?
Oh, I know it's probably very obvious, but like the Christmas song, just because it was my mom's favorite and she really loved it. The Nat King Cole version.
Yeah.
It's just like You don't get any more like soulful Christmas than that. I do like Christmas waltz, like in an adult way. Like I feel like, like I don't know what I mean by an adult way. I mean, like it's like kind of a slightly bluesy, like fun Christmas song. I like that one too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd say a Christmas song. That's what it's called, right? What's the like
Christmas song.
chestnuts roasting?
Yeah.
That's I think
Jack
that's
Frost nipping at your nose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
All right. What is your favorite Christmas movie? Classic.
Oh my gosh. I should have been prepared for that one. And I can't, my brain. You know what? I really,
Christmas Carol?
really like, actually really like The Family Stone.
Okay. Yeah.
But that's not, that's like not a classic. Oh, sorry. A Christmas Story. You can't, again, that's probably an obvious one, but like,
I love that one.
You just can't talk about one that you turn it on. You don't dare turn it off,
Yeah.
All
right. Which do you prefer, Scrooge or the Grinch?
Scrooge.
Clear
I don't
Lights.
know why the Grinch, I was never, listen, I appreciate it. For some reason, it never moved me, never moved me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, which do you prefer, Clear Lights or Colored?
I can't say a mixture because I feel like, some go, like, I feel like Clear Lights for like, you know what, Colored. I'm not going to lie. I like all the colors and the classic ones, not the LED, like the quality of light is, I'm just going to keep on getting those in wasting power my whole life. Yeah. So.
All right. Which would you rather be in, a snowball fight or build a snowman?
Snowball fight. Because it's quicker, it's more ornery. And I feel like, your hands get pretty cold with a snowman after a while. Like, that's a lot of work, a snowman.
It is a lot of work, and you have to have a lot of snow.
And like,
it has to be pretty thick.
Props, like the accoutrement, are you going to leave your scarf out there? Like, maybe this is the city person in me, but I'm like, somebody's going to steal your scarf. Like,
Well, if you can add this to this will be one of my first recommendations to you. You should watch the movie Snowmance. It was so funny. I love it.
What a great title. Yeah.
Snowmance. It's about a girl who's her yearly snowman that she builds with her BFF, who of course is in love with her. She builds the snowman and the snowman comes to life. And it's very funny.
Oh, so the snowman that comes to life, he's Mr. Wrong.
He's Mr. Wrong, yeah, but it's not. It's only through, but in a very funny, nutty way that she, of course, comes to realize that she's in love with her friend too.
In the process, yeah.
Friends funny. To lovers trope totally. It's really good. It's very funny. So I recommend that one. All right, are you a good gift wrapper or not?
I'd give myself a B-.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Last question. Do you have an ugly Christmas sweater?
I don't. I think I did for a minute, unintentionally, and I don't think it's in my life anymore. I think I don't. I think I feel fondly for all there's no irony in the sweaters that I own.
Well, and that's the thing I said with this movie is the sweaters were all great. Very high fashion.
They were. I was like, I really like them. I love the costumes in this movie. Yeah,
they were good.
Yeah.
Well, you did it. You answered all the questions.
Okay. I was like, for some reason, Christmas movie, I was really freaking out for a second. And then it came to me. So, yeah.
Well, congrats on the movie.
Thank you. I'm like so happy to hear. I was worried that it was just going to stay a Tuesday movie that nobody ever really knew about,
Well, I'm glad to bring it to everybody on this podcast's attention, at least, because I did really enjoy it. And so hopefully we'll be seeing more from you coming up.
Yeah. I have 2 Christmas ones are already in the can, and then I'm working on a third one. So yeah.
Great. Well, we'll definitely have you back. And you on social media or anything like that you want to share, or website or anything like that?
I don't. I should be. I'm if you want to follow me on Instagram, I'm the real Latimer. but there's not, to be honest, I don't really promote. You're just going to get pictures of my dog. Like,
That's good.
So, yeah, I need to get better at that. I feel like I'm still in the mindset of like, I'm just going to write as much as I can. And then meanwhile, I'm terrible at
Well, I mean, you already
promoting.
finished 2 Christmas movies, so way to go.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Thank you. I feel really like, I feel like I've got a good job. I've got a good executives that I work with.
Good.
So yeah.
That's good. All right. Well, if you're all listening, let us know what you think of this movie and all the things we talked about. And make sure that you're following the podcast on Hallmarkies Podcast, all of our social media. And if you are listening on iTunes, please leave us your 5-star reviews. It really helps us so much to be able to find the podcast. And if you are listening on YouTube, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Also, you can follow me at Rachel's Reviews, all of our social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. And please check out the Patreon group and merch store. We would really appreciate your support. And thanks again, Shannon. This was a blast. Really enjoyed talking with you. And really nice. We'll wish you all Merry Christmas in May.
Merry Christmas in May. And yeah, thank you so much.
Bye, everyone.